Hi, everyone. This is Michael Gibbs from Go Cloud Architects. How are you all today? For those of you who don't know me, my name is Michael Gibbs, and I'm the founder and CEO of Go Cloud Architects, and we're an organization that is 100% dedicated towards building high-performance cloud computing and networking careers. Personally, I've been working in technology now for well over 25 years, and I've loved every last minute of it. And I've been helping others find their first tech job or build their tech careers or get promoted in tech now for well over 2 decades. And there's nothing better in the world than when one of your students calls you and said, guess what, Mike? I've got my first cloud architect job. I've got my first network engineer job. I've got my first network architect job. It is the best thing in the entire world. Welcome, Cedro. Welcome, Shakir. Welcome, Daniel Green. So happy to have you here. So I've got to say, it's been an amazing ride because I've actually been an architect for decades, and because I've actually seen and interviewed so many people with a desire to be cloud architects. And we found that for the most part, most people that desired to be cloud architects were literally learning every skill other than those that were necessary to be cloud architects. And I wanted to solve that. I want to help all of you guys get cloud hired. It is really important that you build your best technology career. And the best way you build your best technology career is to do the following. Know exactly what you want, know exactly what that job is, and become the best you possibly can be at just that job. Not somebody else's job, your job, the job you absolutely desire. So for us, helping you figure out what you would desire to do is absolutely critical. And it's also important to give you the skills that are necessary to get there. So you know exactly what to study, you know exactly what to learn, and whether you want to be a cloud architect, a cloud engineer, solutions architect, cloud solutions architect, whatever you desire, we're going to help you there. Welcome, Zachary. Welcome, Muno. Welcome, Dean. So happy to have you here, Cedro. We are thrilled to work with you in any way we can. So we're here to literally answer any type of cloud architect or solution architect or network architect or cloud computing career question you may have. So, feel free to ask me anything, and we will do the best we can to answer your questions in real time and live. Last week, we did our completely free AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate Bootcamp. Well over 5,000 people attended. It was fun. We ran a contest. We had a couple of winners. We did an entire Certified Solution Architect Associate curriculum. The folks in the audience asked more, so we went all the way up, ballistically speaking, to almost a solution architect professional in this course. We did anything we could. We had a fun BGP thing one night. I've been teaching BGP for 20 years and working with it for 2.5 decades. Facebook had a BGP outage, so poof, we did a BGP thing. I brought in some tech recruiters for you last week, and that's good. To let everybody know that this Friday, I am going to have Praveen. Praveen is a employed cloud architect, but he's been a big data architect for 20 years. And he knows more about big data than anybody, almost everybody I've met in my entire life. He's great at it. We're going to bring him in. So he's going to be here on Friday. And for the new students that are with me, they have their first class on Tuesday. We're all excited for that. And on Wednesday, I'll be back here answering your questions. On a Thursday, we have your how to get your first cloud architect job. Chris can basically put up all the links. We have a new podcast that's being launched very soon, which I think is going to be really fun for you guys. Our blog, we're starting to develop it. We've got a bunch of articles that are there, but they get thousands of views per month, but my team is making a lot more of them. So to let you know, these are all the fun things that are coming. Now, at this point, we're here to help you ask questions. We're here to basically give you any guidance you need to build your career. Do any of you have any questions? If so, please put them in the chat box, and we will do anything we can to help you build your career. While I'm waiting for these questions, if you're having a good time, if you don't mind hitting the like, leaving a comment, or actually to let me know you're here until you ask questions, please type #CloudHired. Ian, there are 2 hosted zones for the same domain. Shouldn't there just be one hosted zone per domain? And this is a career question and answer session. If you want to talk about DNS or hosted zones or anything technical, please bring it up on the Tuesday or the Friday class. This is dedicated 100% exclusively towards careers, not technical questions. Or you can ask in Slack as well, and someone from the team will do this. This is about building careers. So does anybody have any career questions? Steve Inu, you're presently learning Linux. Not sure if you should go towards DevOps or cloud. Well, that is completely up to you. DevOps is a fantastic career. It's about automating software release cycles. It's about automating the deployment of code. There is a lot of potential. Here's what I can tell you. DevOps is a great career, and it's excellent for those of you that like to sit behind a desk all day long and work on your desk all day long. So if you want to do DevOps, and DevOps on the cloud and DevOps off the cloud is the same, almost the same. So, whether you call yourself a DevOps engineer or a cloud DevOps engineer, it's the same training you're going to need in either case. For the most part, one, we give you a little bit of cloud training, but it's still DevOps. And DevOps is great, again, if you want to sit behind a computer all day long. If you are a programmer, because you've got to be a developer and a great programmer to learn DevOps. So assuming you're an extraordinarily good programmer and you want to sit behind a desk, DevOps is an amazing career. Now, you've got to be a great programmer first. Please make sure that. Now, also understand this, that DevOps, because it's behind a desk, will have half the salary long-term of that of the architects. The reason is the architect is closer to the money. So if you've got a choice, you can pick whichever you desire. Now, remember, the architect is a customer-facing role. So you're going to be delivering a lot of presentations. You're going to be a documentation. An architect is 50 to 60% non-technical. The people that I train that get hired the fastest are not the most technically savvy. They never are. They're always those that have the most business acumen, best communication skills, greatest degree of emotional intelligence, executive presence. And that's why we spend so much time focusing on that. Now, because the cloud architect is customer-facing and closer to the money, they can earn double or triple that of the DevOps engineer. So you have to understand that. Closer to the money, higher the salaries. Closer to the tech, lower salaries. Closer to the tech, lots and lots and lots of job security. Closer to the money, lots of job security as well, because if you're bringing money into a company, even during a layoff, they keep you. So these kind of things are super, super important. So you can do either that you desire, and I'd love to answer more questions, whether you choose to do DevOps or cloud architecture, but I got to tell you, it's an either or. They're exactly opposite directions. We architects are systems designers, and our world is all about design. We don't code, we don't configure, we stay away from all of that. We are customer facing as architects. Now, by comparison, these DevOps engineering roles are hands-on technical roles. They are great technical roles. I think it's a great career. To let you know how much I think of the DevOps career, Sandeep, Dev, and I are actually working together to actually create a How to Get Your First DevOps program. My 20 years experience in helping people get their first DevOps job, and Sandeep's experience with DevOps. So hope I answered your question there. And if you've got subsequent questions, I'd love to answer them. Ram K, I am part of the Azure infrastructure. You're really interested in becoming a solution architect. Could I guide you to the best things you could do? Well, Ram K, the best thing that you could do would be to take our Cloud Architect Career Development Program, which is a 250-hour program if you've got a tech background. And if you don't have a tech background, it's a 500-hour program that teaches everything you need to be an architect. But if you're working on the cloud as a cloud engineer, or you're doing implementation engineering, and you want to become an architect, here's what you're going to do if you're not with us. If you're with us, it's all covered in our training. You need to learn the network and the data center. What do we do as cloud architects and solution architects? We take the things in the network and the data center and we move them to the cloud, which means if you don't know the network and you don't know the data center, you can't design a system from the cloud. So you also have to understand administration is technical. Architecture is 60% non-technical, meaning business. So you go from an infrastructure administration role, like a sysops role, to an architecture role is going to require the following. You're going to have to learn the network, and you're going to have somewhere between CCNA and CCIE level networking knowledge, which means you're going to have to understand BGP in depth, eBGP, iBGP, traffic engineering with BGP. You're going to need to understand interior gateway protocols like OSPF. You're going to have to understand what routers and routing and IP addressing and IP subnet design. That is, by the way, serious information. They don't even teach that at the CCNP level, how to do IP network design, but you still need to know how to do that. So we have to teach you that, or you'd have to learn that on your own. You're going to have to learn about VLANs, 802.1q tagging, trunking, private VLANs, 802.1x authentication, TACAX radio servers. Just on the network side, you're going to have to understand QoS, NAT, one-to-one NAT, one-to-many NAT, static NAT, dynamic NAT, all those kind of things just from the network side. Then you'll need to learn server virtualization containers, firewalls, VPN concentrators, Active Directory, how it works. And realistically speaking, I have all my solution architect students and cloud architect students literally build the cloud from scratch on servers. You can't design solutions that you don't understand. So those are the things you need to know from the network. Now from the data center, you need good knowledge on virtualization, good knowledge on containers, good knowledge of block, object, and file storage. And I mean, not knowing the name of the service, knowing it's Azure blob is nothing. Being able to have a 5-day conversation with the storage area network management team to basically get your storage right. All my students can do that. From there, you have to learn file storage. You need to be familiar with the server message block protocol, as well as the network file system. From there, you've got to be experienced with Active Directory, and then extreme presentation skills. You need to know have executive presence. You need to know you need to be CXO relevant, or how to communicate to the CFO, CTO, CIO. Got that. Now you're going to have to deliver executive presentations. You're going to have to know how to communicate to verbal, kinesthetic, auditory people, as well as the executive personality suite, the functional, analytical, and visionary personality types. Then you're going to have to be able to do an ROI model to show the customer that the technology they want to purchase is going to be worth it. Meaning, if you design $1 billion architecture, you've got to show the customer $2 billion in business value. You've got to show them that the technology is not only going to work, but what it's going to offer them. And that means you need the business acumen to know how to be able to redesign business processes. That's what we do as architects. Like I said, this is our architecture world. It is mostly business with a little bit of tech. It is very different than these engineering jobs, which are all hands-on. I hope I answered your question about that. And please feel free to ask subsequent questions. Nemri, how should the CV of a cloud architect look like? Well, Nemri, there is actually a resume video that I actually made that's on our channel. Chris can put the link. The resume should be as follows. The top line should say something interesting on you. Mine says Mike Gibbs, MS, MBA, CCIE, Google Professional Cloud Architect, and I usually list an AWS Cert too. Then you should have an executive summary, which shows how you can help the business. And again, Chris from my team will pop a video, the link to the video, so you can do this. Then each job should have the action-oriented things that you've actually done. Save the company to won a systems engineer or of the quarter award. Saved an organization or brought increased sales by 22.7%. Designed this a voice over IP or designed a global cloud computing environment for a customer with 200,000 employees, 40,000 subnets, and 20,000 remote locations. These kind of things should be on your resume. So the resume of an architect is going to be very business, very executive, combined with technical, but it's going to be more design technical. It's not going to be configuration. We architects don't configure. We architects don't code. We architects are transformational people. We transform businesses through the technology. So your resume should show how your designs, your technology architectures in your life make it a lot easier for the customer. That is what we architects do, and that's the kind of things that should be on your resume. So I hope I answered your questions, and I'd be thrilled to answer follow-ups if you've got more. Chris, feel free to bring up the next one. Raj Yadav. Which certification should I target? AWS Specialty or Professional? First, Raj, I need to know which job you actually want, because that will tell me what you should do. If I don't know the job, I have no guidance on certifications. I will tell you that having said that, we almost never recommend AWS specialty certifications. With the exception of specific cases, we typically recommend industry certifications. But, and I'll tell you more, but please tell me what job you actually desire, and I can give you some more guidance on that. Again, nobody gets hired because of certification. No one. And no one doesn't get hired because of lack of certifications. One of my students last week, he was with me for a few weeks, he has a networking background. He's with AWS within 3 weeks of the time we started working with him. He didn't have a lot of certifications outside of networking. AWS didn't care. He had competency and knowledge and executive presence and emotional intelligence, communication skills, and depth of knowledge. I'm also going to tell you that most of the principal and distinguished architects that I know working at the cloud providers have no certification other than a Cisco certified internet expert, which is not cloud at all, but the cloud is nothing more than a virtual network and a data center. So it's not which certifications you should get, it's which skills should you learn and which certifications you should get to make your resume look better. And that's going to be based upon your job. If you want to be an architect and you get a Devops cert, it's going to make you look like a weak architect. It's going to make you look like a DevOps engineer and then an architect. If you want to be an architect and you do a SysOps cert, it's going to drop your salary in half, and it's going to make the hiring managers think you're the maintenance person, not the designer. So it's all about getting the right certifications to match your, so it's the certifications, it's the knowledge, and it's about your resume, building a brand that's consistent so the hiring manager knows what you like. So I'd love to answer which certifications you should get, but I need to know what career you want first, because otherwise it's the tail wagging the dog instead of the dog wagging the tail. And we want to be the dog who wags the tail, or the cat that wags the tail. Chris, if you want to bring up the next one. Jeremy Wright, you're on the fence of being an architect because I fear presenting in front of people, and I feel clients will assume I know everything under the sun. So, Jeremy, the world knows that architects are not super technical people. If you're an architect and you study SysOps, it will kill your ability to get a great job. And if you're a great developer, again, it will negatively impact. We architects don't do that. We know architecture. Architecture is a team sport. On an architecture's team, you're going to have cloud infrastructure architects like me. We're people that focus on the network side of the cloud. You're going to have some generic jack of all trades. You're going to have cloud security architects, cloud IAM architects. You're going to have cloud big data architects. You're going to have everybody. You're also going to have, on your team, you're going to have cloud engineers that are going to build the things you design. You're going to have SysOps people that after you design it, the end cloud engineers build it, they have to hand it to the maintenance people, which are the SysOps people. And there'll be developers that can give you insight onto things. This is a team sport. You can't know all these careers. I will tell you this, I've interviewed 1,000 people that thought they can be DevOps, SysOps, and architects, and I couldn't hire a single one of them. And they all had multiple certifications. I hire architects that know architecture. It is not hard to learn architecture at all. It's not challenging, but it's like medicine. I didn't find that it was that hard to learn medicine, but I studied a type of medicine. If by comparison, I thought I was going to be an architect, a maintenance person, a software engineer, then this person, I'd be bad at all of them. It takes 10,000 hours minimum to be great at something. You could spend the next 50 years learning architecture and work 20 hours, 40 hours a week and study 4 hours a week and still learn for the next 50 years of your life. Be great at what you do. Be the best at what you do, and you will get hired. So it's about which certifications are going to support your portfolio. And if you tell me the job, I would love to tell you which ones will help you. And you can be an architect. I strongly recommend learning to speak in public. Even if you wanted to be a DevOps engineer, your career will plateau unless you're used to presenting in public. All good jobs on an interview will ask you to present. Most of the jobs I've had through my career forced a presentation during my interview process, and doing it, delivering good on a presentation, can have a massive impact on your salary. As an architect, you're not expected to know everything. You're expected to know your job and who are the right people to ask questions to. Hi, Pierre Leakin in Nigeria. It's so good to hear from you. We're so happy to offer last week's bootcamp for free. And you were there the whole time and you participated really great. Thank you so much for that. Daniel Green, You cleared the ISC2 exam with 45 minutes on the clock earlier this year. Excellent. You have scheduled the associate exam already. Should I have already pursued the professional exam as opposed to the associate? Let's look at it this way. The Certified Solution Architect Associate, for the most part, is not enough for anything. I wish it was. Guess what? The AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional is about 10% of what you need to become a cloud architect and no more. So the other 90% is what we teach. The Certified Solution Architect Professional is very basic. Here is what goes on with these cloud certifications. They are the name of the service and how to configure it. Here's S3. Here's how to configure it. Here's EC2. Here's how to configure it. You know what's really funny? I interviewed 1,000 people and I asked them what these services are after they were certified. Nobody knew that an EC2 instance was a virtual machine. Nobody knew anything about object storage for S3. They just knew how to configure it. We architects have to design it. There's no configuration. So, Daniel, if you have the associate exam, pass it and then go straight to the professional. Skip the cloud practitioner. There's no reason for anyone in the world to ever take the cloud practitioner. It takes 2 months to do the cloud practitioner for the average person. There is no thing in there that would be useful. There are no potential jobs ever with a cloud practitioner. If the average cloud architect earns $600 a day and a good one easily earns double that or triple that if they're really good, and you spend 2 months doing a cloud practitioner, that's 2 months at $600 a day, which is $24,000 of lost income by doing the practitioner. So do the associate, Daniel, go straight to the professional. When you're done that, the associate's great. You'll pass it. It'll be easy for you. Then you'll get a $150 coupon towards the professional. It'll be the same price as if you did them separately, and you get one right after the other. You should be in great shape, Daniel. You'll do great. Chris, you can bring up the next one. Pierre Lincoln. What industry certification do you need for a cloud architect job job apart from the AWS Associate and Professional? It depends on the career you want, Pierre Lincoln. So here's what I mean. If you look at the AWS Advanced Networking course and a curriculum, it's not even an intro to an intro to an intro to an intro of junior level networking. By comparison, the Cisco Certified Network Professional teaches you networking for real. And if you've got the Cisco Certified Network Professional and the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional, now you've got 20% of what's necessary to be hired. Still, you've got to learn all the design and all the business acumen and communication skills, but that is a great certification portfolio for a cloud infrastructure architect. By comparison, cloud security architect, certified ethical hacker master, CISSP, CCSP, combined with the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional. Cloud Big Data Architect, AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional, big certification from Oracle, maybe some kind of machine learning thing. So it's really based upon the kind of architect you desire to be. But Pierre Lincoln, most of this, meaning 90% of it, is not certification. It is knowledge of how to design end-to-end solutions in the network and the data center. This is what it's all about. Can you design things? You will always need that Certified Solution Architect Professional. It is the bare minimum. And to me, it's an entry-level certification for any type of entry-level cloud job. You need a lot more than that unless you have a big data network or data center background, in which case then you don't need any cloud certifications. All the cloud providers will hire you if you've got a good network and data center background with nothing. And then my students do it all the time. But I still recommend, and all my students get the Certified Solution Architect Professional before they graduate. You should have something on your resume to help you look better. Peer linking, I do completely agree. So I would just, if you tell me exactly which kind of cloud architect you want, I can be much more specific. Avanish Pandey is the AWS Solution Architect Associate, enough to get a job. In most cases, the answer is no. The AWS Solutions Architect Associate is enough. If you've got network experience and data center experience, it is perfect. Completely perfect. In fact, recently I just had a CCIE join my program. He had a Certified Solution Architect Associate. We spent 3 weeks going on business acumen, communication skills, emotional intelligence, executive presence. He just got hired by AWS. When he told me, he said, Mike, I took your advice. We used the shut down the interview technique. I answered one technical question so well, and the remaining 5 hours were nothing other than soft skills, emotional intelligence, presentation, and leadership questions. He said, obviously they hired me. He said, I can't believe how non-technical the interview actually was. Why was it so non-technical? He proved technical competency instantly. CCIEs like me have lots of knowledge of the network and the data center, which is the entire thing that the cloud is, a network and a data center. So here's the thing. You got the Certified Solution Architect Associate. Great. It's a great start. Knock out that Certified Solution Architect Professional, and then figure out exactly the kind of cloud job that you actually desire. And from there, get your industry certs, get your business acumen, or whatever it is you need. And I don't know which career you want, because it's going to be very different for a cloud engineer versus a cloud architect. And if you want to ask questions, I'd love to answer them for you. So ask any questions you desire. Chris, bring up the next question, please. Shakir. Hi, Mike. I'm a migrating student in the last 2 months. You started the solution architect and have watched your videos of cloud architect. Wonderful. You're from Sri Lanka. Please give you some guidelines. Well, you said migrating student. Are you moving towards the US, for example? Are you moving towards Canada? Are you moving towards Europe? And I still don't really know what goal you're looking for, what goal career. So if you let me know, Shakir, your actual job that you're looking for and the countries that you're going to and the things that you desire, I can give you some guidance, and I would be more than happy to. I just really don't know what it is. I just can't advise you until I know what you're actually looking for, because everything's going to have a different map. So please let me know, and I look forward to answering your question. Pierre Lincoln. So for your training to be a cloud architect, can it be done in less time than 16 weeks? Pierre Lincoln, here's the answer that I have for you. Well, the answer is, for people that have a tech background, it's typically 16 weeks. And for people without a tech background, it can be 6 to 8 months. Because we put 250 hours into our You've Worked in Tech program before, and we put 500 hours into the You've Never Worked in Tech program. Can it be completed in less time than 16 weeks? The answer is yes. I've had plenty of students do it. I had a student from Nigeria that literally was with me from 3 weeks. He joined the program. He literally, I think, stayed up 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 3 weeks. 2.5 weeks into the program, he called me and I said, I have the opportunity to interview for AWS. He ordered 2 specialty private practice interviews from me. We did the 2 interviews, and he's been at AWS ever since. He got through in 3 weeks. Recently, Joe just got in through my program inside of 3 weeks and has already been hired by AWS. Is that normal? The answer is no. You've got to be motivated, energetic, and enthusiastic. I'm going to tell you, I locked myself in a room for 4 days and became a Cisco Certified Network Professional. Cisco Certified Network Associate. I locked myself in a room for 2 days and passed the Google Professional Cloud Architect. If you're like me and don't mind locking yourself in a room and really working hard to get it done, you can do through faster, and I have students that do it all the time. But realistically speaking, 16 weeks is a good average for people that have worked in tech, and 6 to 8 months for people that have not worked in tech. Again, can be faster if you put the time, but how fast can you get through 250 hours of training or 500 hours of training is up to you. When you get through the training, that's around the time you're ready to get hired. So it can definitely be done in less. But not everybody was willing to work that hard to do it. So keep that in mind. Chris, if you want to bring up the next one. Actually, I'm being informed because I'm not Mr. YouTube, but I need to become Mr. YouTube. If you're enjoying the content, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, tell others about what we're doing. Otherwise, Chris, if you can bring up the next question. Simon, some employers ask for coding experience when they interview. How do you approach this? Well, I have never seen a hiring manager actually ask for coding experience. I've seen some poorly written job descriptions that actually ask for experience. We actually brought in a tech recruiting firm 2 weeks ago and again last week, and we asked them, just like we asked the VP at NVIDIA, as well as we asked the director at another tech company, have you ever heard of an architect coding? And they all laughed and said, of course not, architects don't code. We then asked these tech recruiters, what happens when you see coding on a solution architect interview? They say, we go out and reach to the hiring manager and we look at these job descriptions and they say, sorry, HR made this description. There's no coding as architects. I've been an architect for 20 years. I've never written a script in my entire life. I know about 1,000 architects, and I don't know a single one that is coded. Now, there is one kind of architect where people do code, and that's something called the technical architect. A technical architect is not a cloud architect. They are not a solutions architect. A technical architect is like an engineer, meaning a really good engineer. And you need to pay them more than an engineer, and you don't know what to do. So you call them a technical architect, and they're basically an engineer that does design, configuration, and they make code. But that is a special job called the technical architect. When an employer asks for coding experience, you can easily say, I'm sorry, I've not had the opportunity to do that. I have expertise in X, Y, and Z. There was a recruiter inside of my a hiring manager in my 25-year career that asked me, do you have any coding skills? And I said, I'm a network architect. He said, I didn't think you would. I said, I'm an architect. I said, I focus all of my time and effort for the last 20 years on being an architect. So I'm darn good at architecture. In fact, I've done this billion-dollar design for this company, this design for this company, this design for this company. And I said, I don't code. I said, if you wanted me to go to training, I guess I could learn that. But generally speaking, wouldn't you like to have one of the developers do that? They laugh. They're like, all right, we just thought we'd ask out of curiosity. We never expected you to code. We just wanted to know if you'd be able to interpret other people's code. The fact that you can't, who cares? You're an architect. So don't worry about it, Simon. The real architect jobs don't. Now, I'm going to tell you, job descriptions are very different. What goes on as follows. There's two kinds of job descriptions you're looking at that are problematic. The first one is what's called the cut and paste job description. The cut and paste job description is as follows. The cut and paste job description is what goes on you don't, like someone like me gets told by your management team, hey, guess what? You gotta go write a job description. And I say, I don't know how to write a job description. So the managers say, write a job description. So I go to Dice and Indeed, I cut and paste somebody else's job description, somebody else's, and then we add our own things. This ridiculousness of coding for solutions architect and cloud architects is so ridiculous and so bad that Gartner, an organization that does evaluations of everything going on in technology, they evaluate what is the best cloud. They evaluate who makes the best router, who does the best software-defined networking. Everyone knows Gartner. Gartner literally looked and saw these job descriptions and said, this is crazy. There's no architecture in these job descriptions. So they literally went and asked chief information officers globally. They started doing things globally. So here's what they did. They asked chief information officers, and here's what they said. Here's what we need from a cloud architect. And you know what? I'll publish the study for you. So you don't think it's something that architects made up about architect jobs. This was published in CIO magazine, and this is what was published. CIOs, the people that pay your salary as a cloud architect, say, we want a cloud architect to lead the cultural change for cloud adoption, to develop and coordinate a cloud architecture, to develop a cloud strategy and coordinate the adoption process, to help find talent with the necessary skills to assess application software and hardware, creating a cloud broker team, to establish best practices for cloud across the company, to select cloud providers, vet third-party services, to oversee governance and mitigated risk, manage budgets and estimate cost, and operate at scale. Remember, architects are not super technical. They're very business and moderately technical. So 60% leadership, 40% technical. Let's walk through these again. Lead the cultural change for cloud adoption, leadership. Develop and coordinate an architecture, that's technical. Developing a cloud strategy and coordinating the adoption process, that could be technical. Finding talent with necessary skills is leadership. Assessing application software and hardware is technical. Creating a cloud broker team is leadership. Establishing best practices for cloud across the company is leadership. Selecting cloud providers and mitigating risk and vetting services, leadership. Overseeing governance, leadership. Working closely with IT security people to monitor privacy and develop incident response procedures, technical. Manage budgets, leadership, and operate at scale, leadership. Note, no configuration, none. No coding, no sysops, no DevOps. This is not architecture. All of these rumors are perpetuated by certification people and non-hired people. We architects don't code. Not now, not ever, unless you become a technical architect, which is not an architect at all. It's a promotion and a fancy name for an engineer. And you know what? we'll make a video on technical architects this week because I think it's really, really, really important because of that. So if you actually ask the employer, they won't want you to code. When you actually speak to the hiring manager themselves, HR has no idea what we do. So they literally put the kitchen sink in there to reduce the number of applications they get. And I can talk about that why later if there's a desire. But let's get to your questions first. Steve, what do you think is the future of Linux systems admin roles? Well, here's the thing. Here is what half of admins do. Admins basically install the operating system, they configure the operating system, the permissions, they disable unnecessary services. Because we have the cloud, because in 3 seconds I can spin up a server, the job of the administration people is down, 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 and down. Systems admin roles are going away because the DevOps engineer can automate almost all of it. So I would do anything I can to get out of administration roles as fast as possible. They're a great place to get experience, but they are not good strategically. What's going on now is we used to have all these great jobs. The freshers would be the admin, the people straight out of school. And it was really great because you needed someone to unbox the server, rack it on the rack, plug it in, cable it, install the operating system. That's all done in 3 seconds with 3 clicks on a mouse. So I think having good knowledge of Linux is essential. I think that could be great to be a cloud engineer, DevOps engineer, cloud architect, or any of these jobs. So Linux knowledge is great. Everything on the cloud is Linux. The cloud is Linux. All the cloud is simply a whole bunch of servers, a whole bunch of routers, switchers, firewalls. They all have basically a Linux kernel installed, and they have a Linux control plane, something like the OpenStack Ansible control plane, the Nutanix control plane, the AWS control plane. It's just a Linux server with a control plane that manages, the resources, the containers. So having good, strong Linux knowledge, Steve, is amazing. Amazing. I have all my students learn Linux. It's very important in some way, shape, or form. So your Linux background is great, but I would try really hard to get out of admin and either into the DevOps world, to the cloud engineering world, the cloud architect world, but I'd say try not to be an admin for very long. The more things get automated, the less need for admin roles. And if you're not familiar with economics and the laws of supply and demand, the greater supply of people that have the job compared with the reduced demand for a job for which there's extreme demand and not a lot of people, there's sky-high salaries. When you have a surplus of people, because of reduced demand, salaries plummet. So I would try and get out of the systems admin roles as fast as possible. But I think you have a couple of years of flexibility in those roles anyway before it becomes really critical. Anybody else have any questions? You're working as a data architect, Google. How do you change your job to a cloud architect down the line? Very easily. You learn cloud architecture, which is the network and the data center. And then you learn a lot more of the communication skills, the executive presence, the presentation skills, executive writing, ROI modeling. Those are the kind of things that you need to, and you could easily do this. In fact, I just had a data architect go through my program. He was with me for about 2.5 months, and now he just took his first cloud architect job. So it's a matter of learning the network, learning the data center and all the pieces and parts, learning how to take things from the network and the data center, learning how to present like an executive, write as an executive, do ROI modeling to show the value of the solution that you create is greater than the cost. You have to have the executive communication skills, executive writing, lots of presentation skills, and then you'll be there. So already a good start if you're doing some data architecture. Data architecture is something that I even have a data architect coming on this Friday because I think data architecture is so good. And that is a type of cloud architect, a cloud data architect. So in your case, just learn how to be a cloud architect, meaning learn the network, learn the data center, and then get all those business skills, communication skills, executive presence, emotional intelligence, really work on those tactics, and you will have an amazing career. And you're already at a great starting point. Now the question, because you said you're a data architect. Okay. Yes, Chris, you can bring up the next one. Gabos, I'm going to the AWS Restart. What resources are there for me to study beforehand so you can be prepared? Gabos, the AWS Restart program is a very junior introductory level program. I don't think there's anything that you're going to have to study beforehand so you can be prepared. You could easily do our AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate training that we did free last week. That has much more depth than you're going to do in the AWS Restart certification by far. You could do that, and that would be excellent preparation. When you're done the AWS Restart, if you want to do any kind of architecture roles, make sure you learn the network and the data center, and make sure you develop those business communication skills and things that we're talking about. The AWS Restart is a very good intro to cloud. We like it, but it's very, very, very junior level. So you could take our completely free AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate. It's much more than you'll cover in the Restart, but AWS Restart is run by AWS, and they know their AWS services better than anyone else out there. So, well, ours is more architecture related, theirs is more AWS related, and you'll do well. We also have a completely free AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate book, and you can do that as well too. And then when you're done those things, if you're looking to become a cloud architect, feel free to come back to us. We've got a cloud architect career development program that can teach you everything you need after you finish that program, and we can get you cloud hard, and we'd be happy to do so. Chris, Simon, are we considering an income sharing agreement for those who can't afford to pay? We have not decided to do an income sharing agreement, and here's the reason. When I speak to other people in the industry, they say, Mike, why are you not charging $25,000 for your program? You could easily charge $25,000. They said, a real architect program is about $15,000 minimum. They said, business acumen training like you do is worth about $10,000. They said the emotional intelligence, soft skills, that's worth another $10,000, $15,000. They say, why aren't you charging $25,000 to $50,000 for what you're doing? And I say, I want to keep it so that anybody can afford it. The average cloud architect earns $800 a day or $600 a day. Our course with a 20% discount is a single day's pay for a cloud architect. I don't want to take someone's income for the next 3 years. I don't want to hurt someone. It's easy for anybody to basically take our $800 training program, split it amongst 3 payments, and for the most part, they're there. They're done. They're ready to graduate. If I run an income sharing agreement like most people do, where they take 10% of your income for a year, I mean, that would really hurt people financially. That could take 20, 30% of their $30,000 from them, and I don't want to do that. So I typically don't consider income sharing agreements because I don't want to hurt people. And I feel like when you saddle people with debt, it's not good for them. What I'm doing, people could literally give up their cell phone or their cable for a couple months to pay for it and have a career of a lifetime. So that's why I keep our price so inexpensive compared to the value that we actually provide. Pierre Lincoln, what is the path to an infrastructure cloud architect after being a solutions architect? Pierre Lincoln, it's not an either or. And here's why I say this. When you're brand new and you're trying to get your first cloud architect job or a solutions architect job, doesn't matter. You got to remember you're competing against people that have a lot more knowledge and background and experience than you, that have been working in the field. So we try and find people to be an expert on something. So if you were to do a Cisco Certified Network Professional and the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional, and we basically trained you to be a network architect and a cloud architect combined, that would be your first job as a cloud infrastructure architect. So that would be what we recommend, because it's going to be easier, about 10 times easier, for us to help you with a focused resume get a job than it would be the other way around. So much easier to get you your first job as an infrastructure architect than it's just going to be as a generic solutions architect. So I think that you're looking at the path the other way around. We could get you to be a solutions architect, and then years later, but we're going to have to do so much work to make you a generalist solutions architect first, that then we're going to have to do again and double the amount of work to get you there later. Probably better, Pierre Lincoln, to just get you straight to the top. Learn the infrastructure, learn the cloud, be so good at it, they'll hire you as either cloud infrastructure architect or a solutions architect. If you do a little less good on the interview, you can still take that solution architect role and then grow into it. So I would probably try and do both at the same time. I always recommend specializing as opposed to being generic. Here's the reason. Internal medicine physician, they cover the whole spectrum of life, $200,000 American. Neurologist, $1 million. Why? It's a lot easier to learn neurology than it is learn the whole body. Trust me, I've done both. I know the heart and I know internal medicine. And trust me, it's a lot easier learning the heart than it is the whole body. And you get paid more to learn the heart than the whole body. So I used to practice medicine and I learned that being a specialist is the best thing that you can do. I focused on BGP and it made me great. Because I focused on BGP for years, people paid me anything I desired. So focus on being the expert, not the generalist. That would be what I would recommend, Pierre, especially where you're at. I don't think you generally have the best economy in the world. And if you've got a skill and a specialty, you will stand out like no one else. And if they can't find you with you and your specialty, then you can always do the generic one. Yes, Pierre, our course, we help people specialize and find a career. We're very comfortable with that. Because if we put someone through a cloud security architect program or a cloud infrastructure, why do we do it? It's your first job. We got to make you guys stand out and look so good, especially when you don't have experience. So let's make you great at something. So of course we help you specialize. Definitely, 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 Pierre. Rukivi, how do you build a business mindset for being a solution architect and how to sell solutions to the customer? You need specialty training here. Nobody was born knowing how to communicate to an intuitive, a functional, or an analytical person type. No one. No one knows how to take the expected value, meaning that the percentage of chance that you think something is going to work, and just determine that times the expected value of a solution based on and do return on investment capital. Without training, we train that. No one is going to be able to know what CEOs care about or how businesses operate without some special business acumen training. So there's two ways you can do this. One is you could take a program like ours that focuses on these completely. Two is you could get an MBA. Three, you could attend in a business school and you can study economics, presentations, program management or project management, leadership skills, finance and accounting. For there, you'll learn ROI modeling and the such. You need an effective communication course as well. And after that, you're going to need some management and some marketing classes. You could take those courses and learn it, or you could take a program like mine. It really is a business job. And that's why, it's populated by MBAs like me. So you don't have to have an MBA. I was an architect long before an MBA. I was an architect with a master's degree in nursing and a Cisco certified internet expert. But I was always a business person. So make sure you understand finance, economics, accounting, marketing, sales. Those are the kind of things that you can do. But also executive communication skills, CXO relevancy. How do you build that business mindset? You either take some business classes or you take a training program like mine where you focus on learning business. But it's a must, must, must. Who has the next question? Shakir. Hi, Mike. Currently studying AWS Solution Architect and want to become a cloud architect. Excellent. What would you recommend from Go Cloud Architect's course, and is it possible to get a job from Sri Lanka? So the answer is yes. In Sri Lanka, you can absolutely get a job. I recently was asked to support a client in Japan remotely from the US. So I called my best friend in Bangalore, India, and said, hey, would you like this? And he said, I would have, but I'm already working for AWS. And I can tell you what certifications he had when he started at AWS. No cloud certifications, but a Cisco certified internet expert. Do you know how I know this person? We did our CCIEs together. Very, very, very good guy. And, he's my brother. We'll always be friends. And we talk constantly. So after you do the Certified Solution Architect, Associate, and Professional, then it's about learning the network and the data center. And yes, you can definitely get a job. And if you're over there in Sri Lanka, things are a little more complicated for you. You can call our office and we can see what we can do to help you. Every once in a while, we run into people that have some real challenges and we find ways to do things. Being in Sri Lanka is a bit of a challenge. So I'm actually going to put our office phone number. You can actually call us and ask us questions. We'll see what we can do for you over there, because we understand there's some different challenges in that region, but you can do it. I've got students all over India. I've got students all over Africa, and amazing people, really great, amazing people. I've got students all over the developing world. and they all do well. So you can get a job anywhere you want. The key is as following: be the best. I mean, I'm not joking. Put your heart, mind, body, and all your love into being the absolute best. I mean, go out there and be great. Focus on presentation skills. I mean, if you have to take 10 stuffed animals and put them throughout your house and talk to them like there's an audience, you will be great. You must learn ROI modeling. You must do these things. If we trained you, you'd get it all. If you're not with us, make sure you get deep communication skills background, deep presentation skills, extreme knowledge of the network and the data center. I mean, extreme knowledge of the network and the data center. Then take design classes. Like TOGAF teaches some design if you're not with me. Again, the TOGAF exam and the TOGAF certification probably cost more than my course in the first place, and they don't cover half of what we do, but at least make sure you do that. Learn systems design. So if anyone is interested and you want us to look at your use case specific, feel free to call. I just popped our phone number inside of that chat window because your situation is a bit challenging. Feel free to reach out to us on WhatsApp and we'll happily have a phone call with you. And we'll do that for anyone for that matter. Chris, please feel free to bring in the next question. What would be the best strategy to learn AWS? Well, learning AWS is easy. The question is, do you want to learn AWS or are you looking to get hired? Or are you looking to be a cloud engineer, cloud architect, anywhere in between? You could easily learn AWS by just watching my free AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate, my free AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional, my free AWS Advanced Networking course held on our YouTube channel. That'll teach you AWS. Now, that's not enough to get hired, but it's enough to really teach you AWS in good depth. But the question is, what about AWS? Are you looking to work? Are you looking to design things like an architect? Are you looking to code things? Are you looking to configure things? You tell me what you want to learn, and then I'll give you the best strategy to learn it. Now, also, I would tell you, don't learn AWS. I'm also going to tell you don't learn Azure, and I'm also going to tell you don't learn GCP. I'm going to tell you to learn the cloud. Learning just AWS or just Azure is, I think, a massive mistake. And here's the reason. All of my students can work on any cloud, anywhere, all the time. If it's Oracle, Azure, Google, AWS, it doesn't matter. That's what cloud architects do. We can design it. A building architect designs a building, and they say, I need steel of a specific strength or glass of a specific strength. Where you buy that steel or glass from to the architect is 100% irrelevant. Now, I want you to think about it this way. What if you came to me and said, I want to learn how to drive a Mercedes? And I put you through an 8-week Mercedes driving training program. And then you said, I want to drive a BMW. And I said, wait, we got to teach you, brand new training program. Come, we'll get you certified to drive the BMW. And then after you've had that BMW for 2 years, you say, boy, this thing is a headache. Constant maintenance, it falls apart. Not like that Mercedes I had. I'm going to buy a Honda. They're low maintenance. And then you took new training to drive a Honda. That's what people are doing with the cloud. They're not learning how to drive. They're learning little bits and pieces from each cloud. And then when they deal with the cloud, and there's no such thing as a single cloud environment. That all died about a year ago. Every cloud I work with is hybrid clouds, meaning data centers plus clouds, multiple clouds. There's always more than one cloud now. So instead, learn the cloud. So learn what all these things are. The cloud is just a network and a data center that's been virtualized. There's been no changes at all. In fact, to put it into context, not only are there no changes, most of the same things that we're doing on the cloud are 30-year-old data center technologies we're just moving to the cloud, almost all of them. So if you know what a virtual machine is and you know what a container is, you can work anywhere. If you know what a virtual machine is, you can use an EC2 instance from AWS, an Azure Virtual Machine, something from Google Compute Engine. It's the same functional technology, literally identical. So if you need a NoSQL database and you learn the cloud, you can pick Apache Cassandra, you can pick MongoDB, you can pick Google Cloud Bigtable, you can pick AWS Keyspaces, AWS DynamoDB. Get the point? It doesn't matter. So the best way to learn the cloud is to learn the network and the data center and then learn the technologies on the cloud that equal. A network load balancer in the data center, guess what? Is a network load balancer in the cloud. A firewall in the data center is a firewall in the cloud. Block storage in the data center is block storage on the cloud. The cloud is old. First cloud I worked with was in 1997. It was Frame-Lead. The next cloud I worked with in 1999, it was ATM. The next cloud I worked with was a BGP VPN. The next cloud I worked with was VPLS. We've been dealing with clouds for decades now. People like me have 30 years cloud computing experience. It's no big deal. But we learned the network and we learned the data center, and that's why we can work on any cloud, anywhere, anytime. So don't learn AWS, don't learn Azure, don't learn Google, learn the cloud and work on all of them. That's the advice I can give you, Pratik Patel. Because that way you'll always be employed. Messafin, thank you so much. First, I always love that frog that you have over there. Messafin, I'm super excited to have you here. Can't wait to see you back in class on Tuesday. You know, I think so much of you. Thank you. Simeon, thanks, Mike. What is a site reliable engineer versus a solution architect? Great question. A site reliability engineer is someone that sits there all day long waiting to fix broken things. They patch things. It's about as operations as you get, not a job. So it's going to be one of those really low paid jobs that you're just going to sit there and sit there and sit there and be at a computer. A solution architect is an end-to-end systems designer. So a solution architect is a hybrid business / technology position. So in one case, it's all hands-on, stare behind a computer, wait for stuff to break, and thinking about capacity planning. Being a site reliability engineer, most people that have had that role tell me it's like watching paint dry. But other people actually do like it. So that's the first one, but you've got to like that. Solution architect, design, communication, all kinds of wonderful things. So very different. Manny Alejandro, what sites do you recommend to look for cloud entry lives? Are third-party recruiters the best? I will tell you that all I have to do for one of my students is call them. For example, I have the recruiters that I had coming in last week. For one of my students, all I have to do is call Christina and say, guess what? My student Manny is ready to graduate. He's done all of his assignments. He speaks well. He's got business acumen. He knows how to design systems end to end. And I say, Christina, go find him a job. And she will look through her things and she'll start calling hiring managers to get you set up for an interview. That's what I do with my students when they are ready to graduate. I can't do it before they're ready to graduate. When you have never had a tech job before, if you apply through HR, you will be rejected. Here's why you're going to be rejected. HR gets 3,000 to 5,000 applications for every single job. A low performance company like the cable company, and nobody's ever going to say, hey, the cable company's got great customer service and such wonderful things. I can't wait to work there. That's not the things people talk about. Would you believe they get 3,000 applicants for a single job? A high performance company like an Amazon or a Cisco or a Google could get 5,000 applications for a single job. So what happens is HR says, we can't look at all these things. And HR puts up what I call roadblocks. 20 Olympic gold medals, 50 years experience in Kubernetes that's only a few years old, 30 years experience in this thing that's only 5 years old. These job descriptions are nuts. And when you apply for them without the requisite experience, here's what happens. You get rejected, 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 and rejected. By comparison, which is something so much different. The next kind of thing that we're actually talking about, so that's what happens. Now, if you go to a recruiter, the recruiter Manny can say, oh, you know what? Hiring manager, I've got this guy, Manny Alejandro. And Manny is a rock star. He speaks well, he writes well, he presents well. He's got lots of expertise in the network and the data center, and I think you should meet him. So now you go to the hiring manager, Manny, and the hiring manager is like, oh, wait, I heard all these great things about you from that recruiter, Christina, that I know and trust for 20 years. I'm so happy to meet you. So by using a recruiter whenever possible, we already bias the hiring manager because they're already told to like you before you even get there. You skip HR and you get hired. The only time you even fill out an application is after they've said you're hired, please fill out this job application for formality purposes so we have records. I always recommend using recruiters. I am not going to tell you not to apply for jobs. Look for Dice, look at Indeed, look at ZipRecruiter, go to all these companies, you'll find them, apply to, never basically let it go at random. Keep doing these, but I'm going to tell you, your best results are going to come from recruiters if you've got a good recruiting team. Chris, feel free to bring up the next one, please. Unless we're actually caught up. It doesn't happen that often. Pratik Patel, you just passed the solutions architect. Here in India, it's different to get a job as a freshman in AWS. Please guide you. I have guided you on exactly one to learn, Pratik Patel. Even in India, the business communication skills are absolutely critical. In India, the network and the data center skills are what matter most. In India, it's like the US, the Certified Solution Architect Associate is not enough. Minimum is Certified Solution Architect Professional. But again, in India, in the US, in the UK, and I've got lots of amazing students in India, you need more. India is a little more technical than the rest of the countries. In fact, if you go to an Indian company, here's what you'll notice. Indian engineers everywhere, sales reps that are Americans or English people. So even in the Indian companies, typically statistically speaking, they know the importance of good sales and the executive presence. The Indian education system is one of the best in the world for engineering. So big, heavy focus on engineering and the technical side of it. The business side is also important. In India, people that come out of a program like mine do well. In India, people that get an internship somewhere also do well. But the key is you're going to have far, far, far more than just the solutions architect. You're going to have good knowledge of the network and the data center, real knowledge, real deep knowledge, like CCNP level knowledge of the network, minimum. Certified Solution Architect Professional, minimum level of knowledge on the cloud, and then lots of data center knowledge, storage, firewalls, load balancers, all of it. You've got to know all that, then you'll be fine. That's how you do it. Uchenna Onia, do we have any specific dates? That we do not do batches, and here's the reason why. I am really lucky. I've got students in Nigeria, students in Cameroon, students in South Africa, students in Ethiopia, students in India, students in Pakistan, students in China, students in Singapore, students in Australia. And I also have students that work part-time. I have students that work full-time. I have people that have come from a non-tech background and we get them hired all the time. I get people that come from a tech background and we get them hired all the time. No, we keep people in as long as needed. So if I've got someone that can go through my program and be done in 3 weeks, they're done in 3 weeks. If I've got someone that needs 8 months because they can only work part-time in my program, we do that. So here's what we do, Uchenna. Twice per week, we have live classes. And on these live classes, we do architecture. And architecture doesn't change week to week. Now, the student's experience does. They participate at different levels the whole time. But we know how to deal with that. We've been in this business for a long time. So twice per week, we do live training. Now, in between these awesome, fun live classes, the students do the videos, which are self-paced. And they can do that in any time they want. So we don't need to use a batch. The labs are also self-paced. So if a student's building their own cloud, guess what? It's self-paced. If a student's setting up Active Directory, it's self-paced. If the student's building a cloud and federating with their Active Directory server when the time is right, it's self-paced. So we're able to give our students the flexibility to be in the program for a while. We view our perspective as done when the student is hired. So we're all career focused. We're all about getting cloud hired. So if you signed up today, you would start classes tomorrow. Tomorrow at 9 a.m. is the first class that we run. If you were to sign up on Thursday, we'd put you into that Friday class and you would still be good. So we don't have to do specific batches. We don't have to do specific dates. If you'd like to work with us, we can fit you in the next class. We've got a process and our students do amazingly well. If you've got more questions, I'd love to answer them for you. And Pierre Lincoln, I've got your question. I will return your phone call after this session is over. Okay, Shakir, let us know your office hours. If you'd like, you can right now send me a text message at that address via WhatsApp, and I will call you back after this call is over. You'd be the second call that I have to return, but I'd be more than happy to do that. Otherwise, we answer phone calls whenever we can. We are all extremely busy, and we will, if somebody calls and leaves a message, we will definitely call them back within 24 hours, and we call everybody back. And we say within 24 hours, but it's usually within a few hours. So just call anytime, ideally between 8 o'clock in the morning US time and 9 o'clock US time. Those are typically the days, those 13 hours, they're typically the days where we answer our phones. Memory Insef, can I please give you some information about the TOGAF certification? The TOGAF is an enterprise architecture certification. Many architects like me have it. I've never bothered because I have the CCIE, which is worth more than all of it. I'm not Mr. Certification. I'm Mr. Getting Hired and Mr. Teaching how to my people to get hired for better jobs and paid more. Certifications only help to an extent. The majority of it is not certification related. So TOGAF is an excellent architecture certification. If you were to take like a Cisco Certified Network Professional, AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional, and then you added the TOGAF, it would be a nice addition. TOGAF is not a major certification. It doesn't have extreme credibility, but it is highly useful. So TOGAF plus those other two would be a beautiful addition to your portfolio, especially as an architect. TOGAF is an architecture standard cert. Benjamin, you are such a great asset in the technology. Thank you. You are a CISSP and a CISA. You've learned a lot from me. Your cloud experts are the best by far. You're currently studying for a solutions architect. Wonderful, Benjamin, and I'm so happy to hear that. I'm looking at your last name. I'm assuming you're Nigerian. If so, awesome. If not, if you want to let me know, that's okay too. But in any case, it's super nice to work with you. Pratik Patel, you're very welcome. I know I'm giving you longer answers. What I'm trying to do is give you everything you need to know so you can make the best career decisions in your life. I want you to be extremely happy, all of you. So that's why I'm giving you detailed answers instead of a quick yes or no, just to let you know. Listening to your cloud lectures makes you always excited. Benjamin from Nigeria. Okay, I saw the adding in your last name, so that was pretty good. Wonderful. We're so happy we can help. And thank you for participating, Benjamin. I'm thrilled to have you here. I'm very grateful. Hey, Jenny, watching your videos is making you reconsider learn the cloud instead of getting your CCNP. Would employers take a candidate seriously that would have a network and a cloud cert? Extremely. But architect, remember, is 50% business. So they will always consider someone with a CCNP and a certified solution architect professional. Pretty easy to get a job with that, provided you've got the other things. But the difference between a cloud architect and a cloud engineer, for the most part, are business and executive communication skills. So make sure you have them. Otherwise, you'd be a really strong cloud engineer. But if you want to be a cloud architect, make sure you get that business, legal, leadership, those kind of things, the communication, presentation skills. That is the job there. But they'll take you very seriously. So if you're willing to help us with the algorithms, if you can hit the like, and if you know other people that and subscribe to our channel and hit the bell to be informed of new videos as we do them, please help us if at all possible. To let us know that you're having fun and that you're still here and you're awake and not falling asleep. If you can type #CloudHired in the chat box, we know you're here. And then while you guys do that, we'll get to the next question. Des, what would you recommend as a certification path for someone who wants to be an AWS technical account manager? You know, I've had multiple students take this role very quickly. I would still recommend the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional. Why? Because that's kind of the certification where people seem to start taking you seriously as a cloud solutions architect, technical account manager, or anywhere in between. For the technical account manager, you could get away in many cases with the Certified Solution Architect Associate. Here's the thing. I don't like competition. I don't like to compete against others. My perspective is be better. And that way, when you interview and someone else interviews, you win. I wish it wasn't the case, but when it comes to getting hired, it's a competition. For you to win, someone else has to lose. So I like to take my military strategy from the book, The Art of War, written from Sun Tse, spelled TSU, In the art of war, they said, know your enemy, know yourself, and you'll always be victorious. Know yourself and not your enemy. For every one win, there'll be one loss. Know your enemy and you're not yourself. For every win, there'll be one loss. Know not yourself nor your enemy, well, you'll always lose. So if your enemy is the AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate, be the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional. One level above your competition and you will win. So you want to be great? Be great. Here's how you be great. You are one step above. You get attacked, you fight back at one level, the same level or one step above. You want to get hired? You get one step above your competition and you win. So I'd say get the Certified Solution Architect Professional, and that's going to be your perfect certification for just about any role. Abu Nasser, I saw that you enrolled. That's absolutely fantastic. I look forward to working with you tomorrow. Chris, if you want to bring super package, how career in cloud compared to DevOps? Well, package, good question. If you wanted to do DevOps on the cloud, it's going to be just like DevOps in the data center. Nothing's going to change other than the tools may be 2% different, but it's the same job. If you wanted to be a cloud engineer on the cloud, that would be basically building and configuring things. A cloud DevOps engineer would not only do the traditional things you would do in DevOps, the automation, but a cloud DevOps engineer might actually be the person that's actually automating the releases. So in addition to your Jenkins and Spinnaker and all those other DevOps tools like Git and things that you would use, we now are in this world of infrastructure as code, specifically with Terraform, and DevOps engineers, because they're so good at automating, are now automating the building of the systems that we cloud architects designed. So if you were doing things in the DevOps as a DevOps engineer in the cloud, you'd be doing some cloud building, and you'd also be doing the traditional DevOps stuff. Now, if you wanted to be a cloud engineer, you would be configuring things a lot of ways like DevOps with less automation. And if you wanted to be an architect like me, it'd be a great career. You go in, you talk to clients, you evaluate their business, you evaluate their current systems, you say, okay, your business goals are X, Y, and Z. We can do these two new technologies can help you achieve goals X, Y, Z. We can save you 32% by doing an ROI model, by looking at this, this, and this. Because of this, this, and this, we know we can help you. That's the architect job. The architect designs it and then hands it to a team of engineers to go build it. So those are the jobs. All of these jobs package are great jobs. The architecture jobs obviously pay by far the most because they're customer facing. You're speaking to the client about taking their systems and moving them to the cloud. Customer facing always pays more. The cloud architect job is probably the easiest job of the bunch because half of your time is going to be buying lunches, dinners, drinks, paying for good food with a company credit card, entertaining clients, and speaking. To me, it's much easier to buy a steak, a glass of wine, and an after dinner drink and some dessert than it is actually to work. But that's for me. Some people are uncomfortable by this. So now you know those kinds of jobs, and they're all good jobs. It's a matter of finding one that matches up to your personality. Who has the next question? Is it possible we're temporarily caught up on questions? If so, this is great. Ask away. We've got anything that we can do to help you, and we're always thrilled to help you.
Well, Mike, I don't know if this person was a troll or just knows that you're from Philadelphia.
Okay.
But somebody, I know you have no idea what this is about, but do you think Ben Simmons can become a cloud architect? He's not good at basketball anymore.
It's an interesting question, Katsumi. I think anybody could become a cloud architect that wants to focus on the following: learning business skills, learning communication skills, has good attitude, energy, and enthusiasm, lots of executive presence. I'm assuming basketball players might have executive presence. I never understood the game of basketball one bit. I also never understood football. I'm a martial artist, and that's kind of what I know. So, if you're dealing with an intelligent person that's highly energetic, highly enthusiastic, highly motivated, they can do well. Here's the thing about athletes, and I've spent most of my life as an athlete. Athletes work hard. Athletes never quit until they win. Many organizations, specifically for these reasons, were hiring athletes. 30 years ago, 40 years ago, Coca-Cola owned the soft drink market. Pepsi decided to start hiring athletes. The next thing you know, Pepsi was a close number 2. They went from the bottom of the market to equal. You know, IBM hired athletes. Cisco hired athletes. The most strategic organizations, the best high performance one, hire a bunch of athletes because athletes don't quit. So when I went to Cisco, they were like, "What sports do you play?" I said, "I'm a competitive martial artist." They're like, "Yes, this is good. We love athletes." So I don't know anything about Ben Simmons. I don't know if he speaks well, writes well, how intelligent he is, how educated he is. But as a rule, I believe anyone can be a cloud architect provided they put the time, effort, and money into it. And by money, I mean, you've got to take some time to really do it. And you may have to buy some books along the way. And you may have to read the books along the way. You may have to take some certification. That's not a lot of money, but you've got to be there. You've got to be focused. So in martial arts, we say that hard work beats talent when talent doesn't try. I will tell you, I've taken kids that people gave up on, that no one thought they could do anything. I took a kid that was a highly troubled kid. His parents hated him. He had no friends. He found me in the gym one day and he says, "Mike, I want to be successful like you." And I said to the kid, I said, "Yeah, work hard." And he said, "But I want to be just like you." He said, "What do I have to do?" I said, "You're at the gym." He said, "You play any sports?" He said, "I'm on the wrestling team." I said, "Good." I said, "Here's your workout." I had him do 500 pull-ups, 500 squats with a light weight on the bar, like 225 pounds, and 300 deadlifts with 225. And then I said, "Run 5 miles. And if you can do that," you know what? He did it. I watched him do it. I didn't think he would. He did it. I trained him. By the time he graduated school, he had an amazing job. 2 years later, he was the lead, product manager at one of the world's best technology companies. Now he's a lead architect for an entire firewall and security division for an organization. Anybody can do anything that fights towards it. I left medicine and came to tech, and it was no big deal. All you have to do is desire, want to learn, and put the effort in, and you can do anything you dream about or desire. The only person that gets in our way of ourselves is ourselves. So yes, I have no idea who this person is, but chances are, if they put enough time, effort, and love into what they do, they will win, and they could do it too. So hope I answered that question without knowing who the person is.
Yeah, to bring you some clarity, he's a starter for the Philadelphia 76ers in the NBA. So that's why I thought it was relevant for you.
Yeah, I'm from Philadelphia. I still don't know what a starter is. I think of it as an appetizer in Europe, but I have no concept of what it is. But, thank you for letting me know from Philadelphia. I did come from Philadelphia. I had a lot of fun in Philadelphia, too. Deepu Kumar, can we please explain about Ansible, Terraform, role in AWS? Well, it depends on the role you have, Deepak Kumar. If you're an architect like me, you will never use Ansible or Terraform in your life. If you are a DevOps engineer, you're going to use these tools for infrastructure as code. But this is only applicable for the most part in DevOps. So these are tools to deploy multi-cloud environments from an automated release thing. These are all DevOps tools. Now, there are some cloud engineers that know how to use them, but this is realistically exclusively for DevOps. I'm an architect, Deepak, so I won't ever use these, ever. But I get good friends that are DevOps engineers that use these things all the time. Ansible is about, agile software delivery. Terraform is about, deploying your code, infrastructure as code. Those are basically what you're going to do with them. I am an architect. As an architect, they are far, far, far away from my world. So I can't give you much more information, but HashiCorp's Terraform is an unbelievably amazing way to do automate in an automated manner to deploy your infrastructure. AWS has their own thing called CloudFormation. I don't think anybody uses it. Everybody uses Terraform because the world of just AWS is gone. It's going to be AWS, Azure, Google, combined with OpenStack, Ansible, or Nutanix. And Terraform lets you deploy it all. So Terraform is really great, but that is only for DevOps people and some cloud engineers. Now, Abu, we do our Zoom sessions during the weekdays. That's the only time we're actually able to do these things. Our sessions are Tuesday 9 to 12 and Friday 12 to 3. On the weekend, we have a very active group of people. On the weekends, we make our YouTube content and we do our lesson plans for the next week. We work 7 days a week, our team, 16 hours a day, and there is just no time for us to do weekend classes. So we don't do weekend classes. We could double or triple the price, hire a team of instructors and do weekend classes, but I've asked my students if they would prefer that, and they said keep it the way it is. So we basically offer a $25,000 to $50,000 course for $800. And in order to do that, we have to keep the courses at times where our instructors can actually teach easily. Here's the reason we pick these times, Abu Nasser. It works for 90% of our students, because if we do 9 o'clock a.m., it works for our US-based students, which are about 30 or 40% of our population. It works for our UK students, because our 9 a.m. is 2 p.m. in the UK. It works for our students spread throughout Africa, because they are either on the UK time zone or they're in the Central European time zone. It works relatively well for our people in the Middle East, because we're sort of in that that kind of time zone frame where it works pretty terrifically. So it works for that. And our 9 a.m. sort of works for us, is 6:30 p.m. for our students in India. And it's almost tolerable for our Asian students. We've chosen these times based upon when our students can actually attend it. We've got a global audience, and these are the best times. Friday, we do noon. Why do we do noon? It's 5 p.m. in UK. It's 6 p.m. in Central Europe. So that covers 5 and 6 in Africa, where we've got a lot of incredible students. And then, that one doesn't work out so well for our students in India, although they do attend throughout the program or they watch the replays. So it's a matter of the following. We do what we can. We record every single call. And because we record every calls, people that attend the class during the weekdays, maybe they show up for the first 30, 45 minutes. They ask questions, because on the calls, our students ask questions. They get their questions answered, and they watch the replay of the call after the fact. So it works perfectly for our students. But we could either hire people and raise the price of the course 200 to 300%, or we can keep them doing what we're doing. We've got hundreds of students spread throughout the world. Our students get hired every single day. We're so successful at doing it. For most people, it's worth rearranging their schedule. I've got students in India that stay up all night. You know what? It's worth it to them. And our students also ask questions on Slack in between classes. So there's never a time where our students are lost. But we have to do things that are going to benefit the majority of our students. We have to pick classes that are going to fit the majority of our students' schedules. And we're really cautious, careful that we deliver this $25,000 course for about $800. And we want to keep it as cheap. We don't buy advertising for that reason. We do everything we can. We invested about $50,000 in our video technology just to be able to do it. Right now, I'm actually on a Blackmagic 6K cinema camera that's literally plugged into a specialty video encoder, that's got specialty lenses on it, that's plugged into a system that's got 32 cores with a 0.5 terabyte of DRAM and a couple of Quadro cards just to be able to process this video. So we're doing things that are super sophisticated in order to give our students the best experience. So we know how to work around people's schedules. They do great. I wish there was a better way, but that's about the best we can do. You're welcome, Deepak Kumar. Does the AWS Solution Architect Associate fit a .NET developer looking for a cloud career? Not really, unless you want to be a cloud developer. So if you want to be a cloud developer, I would still recommend getting that AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional. That's kind of your minimum level cloud any certification. And then I would add like a cloud developer thing to it. But generally speaking, we architects are systems designers, developers are coders. So development, for example, and architecture realistically don't really go together at all. We architects don't do any development. The only kind of architects that know how to do development are application architects. Now, if you wanted to be an application architect on the cloud, like a cloud application architect, that would fit really nicely with that Certified Solution Architect Professional and the AWS Developer Professional. Something like that would be a good kind of thing to do. .NET is Microsoft. There's very, very limited Microsoft things going on. And if so, they're probably going to be on Azure. So I'd rather do the Azure cert if I was trying to do Windows type development, but still very limited Windows development in today's world. I view Windows as Active Directory and Microsoft Exchange. Everything else is going to be Linux for the most part. So does it fit? The development role, yes. The architecture role, no, it doesn't matter. When I have about 100 developers I'm working with that desire to be cloud architects, what we do is we get them out of doing software development. We teach them the network, the data center, how to design an end-to-end solution on the cloud, how to present it, how to communicate it, how to write it. And when we're done that, all kinds of great things happen. So that's pretty much the way we do things and why we're successful doing what we do. But yes, you could move to the cloud, yes, easily. It'd be a great thing, but we'd have to do the specialty training if you wanted to do anything on architects, because architects don't code and they don't develop. But knowledge of the software development process is very beneficial to the architect. Knowledge of how people do maintenance is very beneficial. Knowledge of what DevOps engineers do is very beneficial. We just don't do those things. So hope I answered your question, and I'm happy to answer more questions about that should you desire. Cloud learner. Can I walk you through the process of getting your first cloud architect job? Absolutely. Let me tell you what we do, and here's the process for us. And because this is the one that I've used for basically 20 years, and our systems are a little different, but I'll tell you what our process. The process for us from taking someone and getting their first cloud architect job is as follows. First, we might teach them architecture. You can't architect what you don't understand. So the first thing we do is learning the network and the data center in depth. I mean, real depth. Once you have knowledge of the network and the data center, then we have to teach you the cloud services that match the network and the data center technologies. Then it's an issue of teaching you how to communicate like an architect. This, by the way, cloud learner, is the hardest part. Teaching you how to write like an architect, again, the hardest part. Teaching you how to present like an architect, again, the hardest part. We're talking about VP level presentation skills that you need to have as an architect, at least director level. Then we're talking about business acumen training. Then we're talking about ROI modeling. Then we're talking about interview preparation training. Then we're talking about salary negotiation training. We're literally covering the whole spectrum of all these kind of things that you must learn. So there's that. Next, it's developing the leadership skills. After that, after you've practiced your interviews and you've got your executive communication, your executive presence, your emotional intelligence training, your ROI modeling training, your business acumen, finance training, leadership training, then it's about getting a job. So for me, it's about calling the recruiters that I know that all I have to say Cloud Learner is ready. They are ready to be hired. Call Cloud Learner. And then they'll speak to you, my recruiters. My recruiters will then ask for your resume. They'll look at your resume. They'll give you feedback. They'll then set you up for interviews. They will prepare you for the interviews by telling you things that the hiring manager cares about. And they're going to know the hiring manager, so they're going to give you ways to establish rapport and create a connection. They're then going to tell you the things that they want you to emphasize on that. Then you're going to go win that interview. After you get the interview, here's what's going to happen. HR, the manager is going to say, I need you to fill out an application. After they've made the decision to hire you, you'll fill out an application. The next thing that's going to happen is as follows. The hiring manager, like me, I would always call HR and say, this person, Cloud Learner, is a rock star. I want to pay them 1.2 times the standard cloud architect pay, which is called the comp ratio. They generate an offer. I get an offer. I call you Cloud Learner. And I say, Cloud Learner, here is what we do. We've got an offer for you that's going to pay you X, Y, and Z, and it's going to be a really good experience for you, and you accept it, and then you get hired. Now, we actually have a How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar, which we do twice a week, where we tell you every step in the process. We had this one this morning. Chris from my team will post a link to that free webinar in the chat box, but that is the process. That is the procedure. And I got to tell you, I've been using it for years. I've never applied for a job in my entire life. There was one job that I applied for without knowing. I had been in England. I had been spending the last 6 months in Dubai. I got home. I was in Dubai for like 25 days. I'd go to England. I'd go back to Dubai. I'd go back to England. It was a great experience. Actually, I loved working over there. And one time when I was in England, I got a phone call from Cisco. Apparently, my wife had filled out an application to Cisco and submitted my resume while I was working overseas because I got a brand new Mac and she loved it. So I got a call from Cisco. I joined Cisco. It was great. But I've never applied for a job other than that. realistically speaking, somebody applied for me for this job, and it was the best thing that happened to me. I love Cisco. I loved working there. It was the best company in the world, and still is, as far as I can tell. But that's the process. It's a little different. So hope I answered your question here. Please feel free to attend the How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar, and it's there. So, NERIC classes, can you explain the difference between the AWS Solution Architect Associate level and professional level? Absolutely. The AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate is kind of an intro to junior level cloud engineering. And the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional is kind of like ready to begin your career as a cloud engineer. Because remember, these Solution Architect Associate courses and professional training and the certifications are about the name of the service and how to configure them. That's it. Here's how to set up an S3 bucket. Here's how to configure an EC2 instance. Now, mind you, we architects don't configure ever. We design. So there's no part of any of these certifications, at least these AWS ones, that's related to the job of an architect. But Certified Solution Architect Associate, in my mind, that's like the cloud practitioner. It's kind of like your intro to junior level learning about the cloud. Certified Solution Architect Professional is still kind of junior in my mind. It's about 10% of the depth of knowledge you need to actually be a cloud architect. But that's when you start to really know something. So that's where you're getting a good, strong knowledge of AWS. So Certified Solution Architect Associate, basic. Certified Solution Architect Professional, in my mind, it's the minimum certification for any job, unless you're already coming from a network or a data center background. YRRM4X. How does one recover from not being able to ask a technical interview question? This is all emotional intelligence. Here's how I do it. Now, here's what I've taught my students for 20 years. I was on my first network architect job or network engineer job. I became an architect a few months later. Back in 1998, 99, I can't even remember, 97. And I was interviewing at MCI WorldCom. And on this interview, and we'll talk about what hiring managers want because this is really important. And I was on this interview. And when I was on the interview, I was asked some questions. I was asked the usual behavioral question, tell me about yourself. It was simple. I answered it. I was asked a question on OSPF. I answered it. I was asked a question on BGP. I answered it. I was asked a question on Formula. I answered it. And then I was asked a question on EIGRP, and I had no answer whatsoever. And I did what I have informed my students to do for the last 2 decades, and it works a lot of the time. Say, I'm sorry, I've not had the opportunity to learn that technology yet, but I'm highly energetic, I'm highly motivated, and highly enthusiastic about technology. I know what I know and I know what I don't know, and I know how to find answers to things that I don't know quickly. But I must be honest with you, I've not had the opportunity to learn this technology yet, but what I really know a lot about is X, Y, and Z, and point them to the things you don't know. My students have been using this for 2 decades and getting hired. Here's the reason why. 99% of all people on a job interview lie. And you know what happens when someone lies on a job interview? We're like, bye. Now we'll be polite. My old manager told me to keep a bunch of cookies in my office. And as soon as somebody started lying on an interview, just start feeding them cookies to make them feel good about the experience because we couldn't hire someone that lied. So I fed cookies to people. Literally speaking, I'm not joking. When I worked at one tech company, everybody had cookies. And as soon as somebody would lie, they would hand them a cookie. The interview was over. We would at least think that we could make the experience feel good. Here is what hiring managers want. I'm going to tell you right now. They don't care if you're an expert on everything. It is not expected. There is nobody that knows everything. No one knows everything. So here's what hiring managers want. Number 1, technical competency. Can you do the job? Number 2, are you trustworthy? So just by telling the hiring manager you don't know, you've already raised the level of who you are. The next thing employers care about is that you're competent and safe. You know your limitations. You know what you know, and you know what you don't know. So you don't make major mistakes. They care if you're energetic and enthusiastic. Okay. They also care if you bring out the best in others, if you're a team player, and if you're willing to go above and beyond. So let's talk about this. when you tell if someone asks you a question and you bluff, you just lied, interview's over. I don't care how polite they are. I've interviewed over 5,000 people, 4,950 people have lied to me. I've given out a lot of cookies in my life because I will never hire someone that lies to me. And I don't know of any hiring manager that won't. So 99% of all job interviews enter for a lie. Now, if you go back to what I told you to tell them, I'm sorry I've not had the opportunity to learn that technology yet, but I'm highly energetic, I'm highly motivated, and I love tech. I know what I know and I know what I don't know, and I can find the answers to things quickly. If this was part of my job, I would do anything to become an expert at it. But I need to be honest with you. I know a lot about X, Y, and Z. What did you just show them? First, you showed them you could trust. You showed them that you were safe. You showed them that you were energetic and enthusiastic. You then showed them you're willing to go above and beyond. Guess what? You just convinced the hiring manager you're the perfect candidate. I will tell you, I did this on my first job. I applied to be a network engineer. I answered that. The vendor, the hiring manager, sticks out his hand and says, Mike, I'm hiring you as a senior network engineer. My eyes bugged out of my head. And he said, you know what? You know more than my people that are working here, and you've never worked in your life. You just told me. And he said, no experience, and you're this good. Imagine what happens with experience. He was right. 6 months later, I was the lead architect. So answer it honestly. You've not had the chance to do it. Remind them all the things they care about, that you're energetic, enthusiastic, passionate, you love tech, and you're willing to go above and beyond to be great at it. Tell them that. And then point them to the things you know. Take control of the interview. They don't interview you. You interview them. You are in charge. You direct the questions. You read the person's body language. You change, the way you're presenting things by the things that are going on in the body language. We teach that to the students. You look at the direction their feet are pointing at, and you know what things to say. This is all about your emotional intelligence. You want to get a better job? Be more emotionally intelligent. Not only on average does emotional intelligence raise someone's salary about $30,000 per year on average, which is about $1 million over a 30-year career, but it gets the difference between getting hired or not hired. It's the difference between agile on the interview, so you can redirect the interview as it goes along. Train emotional intelligence. This will never be a problem. Because if you would desire to bring up the next one. Nasser Jasmine, what is our success rate in the US? It's hard to tell. And here's the reason I'll say it's hard to tell. I've been doing this forever. In the last 20 years, I've only had one person that couldn't get hired. And what I mean by one person, she didn't get hired. She was given 4 job opportunities, but she didn't accept any of them. So I took that as a personal failure. Having said that, all my students that come to class that actually do the homework and show up, they all get hired. The ones that don't, I can tell you right now, the ones that don't show up, the ones that don't do the assignments, of the people that are consistently showing up and doing all the work, they're almost all exclusively getting hired. The only people that don't are the people that choose not to do the work, they choose not to show up, and they choose to just be lazy. I can't force people to come to class, but the people that come to class get hired every single day. Chris is on the other end. I'm on the other end. It's not a day that goes by where someone doesn't get a job. On Saturday, one of my students who's been with me for 3 weeks just told me he got hired by AWS. Getting people hired in cloud computing is easy. When you're an expert what you do, and you know exactly what to teach, and you know exactly what the person needs, it's easy to do. So realistically speaking, the program that we did one-on-one for years, we just took and made digital 6 months ago, but it's the same program that we've done for the last 2 decades, but it's not one-on-one, it's one-to-many and group coaching. It's been wildly successful, and every single day one of my students get hired. And it's a very high success rate, but I don't calculate it on a per team basis, but it's got to be well over 80%. Well over 80%. Who's got the next question? How old was I? That's a really interesting question, because in 1991 is, I think, when I became an EMT, and I did that for a couple of years. Then I became a paramedic while I was through nursing school. While I was in nursing school, I actually was building computers at the computer lab, even though I was not in tech. Then, because I just love tech, then I became a nurse. I went to graduate school to become a nurse practitioner. While I was in graduate school to become a nurse practitioner, again, I started playing with tech a lot. It wasn't until I became a nurse practitioner in 1998, was it, that I took my first nurse practitioner job. And in 1998 is when I worked as a nurse practitioner for about 6 months, and I decided I was going to move into tech. So around 1998 is when I became a CCNP. I did my CCIE in 1999 or 2000, and I've been working in tech ever since. But yes, I was first an EMT, then I was a paramedic, then I was a nurse, and then I was a nurse practitioner, but I was in my 20s when I became my first network architect job. Fun times, actually. How I ended up in healthcare and moving to tech, I have no idea, but it was just, you got to do what you love. Do what you love. Okay, so for this question, it's another one of those, it depends. Does cloud computing need coding? It depends on the job. Cloud architects, no coding ever. Cloud engineers, coding some of the time. SysOps people, coding plenty of the time. DevOps people, coding all of the time. So it really depends on your career, how much, what it is. But for architect jobs, there's no coding. For cloud engineering jobs, there's some coding. For SysOps, there's lots of coding. And for DevOps, it's all coding and coding experience. So it all depends on which type of job you choose to take on the cloud. And if you let me know one you want, I can tell you exactly how to get there. Could you please help with the most asked questions in one video for 2 years experience? I don't even understand the question. If you tell me what you want, I'm happy to answer that question. And I don't know what you mean by 2 years experience. I don't know anything, or you mean 2 years working as a cloud? I'm actually not sure what you're actually asking in the question. So if you ask the question a different way, I'm happy to answer it. While we wait for you to ask it a different way, Chris, if there's another question, I'd love to answer it. Omar Farouk. Hey, Mike, again, I love your seminars and you're looking to enroll a course. Wonderful. We look forward to working with you. You're really thrilled and about excited, and I hope to learn a lot from you. I hope to teach you a whole lot, Omar Farouk. I wake up and all I can think about every day is, how do we make our students do better? You could talk to Chris on the other end of the call. He and I have these conversations. Jesse's a new member of our team. My good friend Nagaraja, who's a CCIA that's going to be joining us soon. He's not even here yet, and the conversations with him are like, Mike, what do we do to make sure our students do better? How do we teach this? How do we have content on this? That's all we do. So Omar Farouk, we're super excited to work with you whenever you're ready. Chris, Valentine, my question is, do you think infrastructure and code is very important for cloud engineers? Absolutely. If you're going to be a cloud engineer, you must have some good coding skills and good scripting skills, and infrastructure as code is the future. Right now, here's what it is. You got a cloud architect like me that designs it, and a cloud engineer and builds it. Or the DevOps engineer builds it. Let's look at it this way. It used to be that it was just AWS. That's gone. It's not Azure, it's not Google, it's not AWS. It's everybody combined in a total end-to-end architecture. So because of that, Valentine, you must know infrastructure as code. Absolutely, if you want to be a cloud engineer, critical skill set. Good question also. Why RRM4X? For a cloud solution architect program for graduates in Microsoft, have one big advantage. How big of an advantage are a bachelor's degree? Moderate. AZ 900, some. Business to business customer making sales experience, that's a 10 out of 10 in terms of the help that it can give you. The AZ 900, maybe a 2 out of 10. Bachelor's degree, maybe a 3 out of 10. Customer facing sales experience, most critical thing you could have told me, that's worth everything. So huge, huge, huge thing. A cloud engineer without the business acumen, communication skills, executive presence is a cloud engineer, not an architect. So solution architect, cloud solution architect, it's all about your customer facing experience. You should be able to do like what I'm doing right here, right now, at a second's notice, be here, be able to talk about things inside your wheelhouse. That's what we do. So Your business-to-business sales experience is the greatest, but I kind of rank them for you as well. Chris, if you want to take the next one. Sterling Silver, what areas of improvement have you heard from the alumni? My alumni send me messages that tell me they love me almost every single day. It brings me to tears. Chris could tell you the same thing. What I will tell you is when we first filmed our program, we put it together rather quickly. I didn't even mean to put this program together. I've been doing this job forever. I made a video on YouTube about how to get your first cloud architect job, and literally people wrote me emails inside of seconds. Oh my God, Mike, I need a program. I need a program. I need a program. So I worked really hard to go build this program really fast. And we did. We built a program. Our students get hired every single day. Now, I'm a perfectionist. And I thought, what if we could make our videos a little better? We used a 4K camera when we filmed our videos. What if we could add better graphics, add better notes? So we refilmed our entire program based upon customer feedback about 3 weeks ago. And Chris from my team, it basically has the technical content done. We're a couple weeks away from having everything redone based upon what the students have told us. All of the students have loved everything they've done. They just told us in certain places we could be a little more organized, and in certain places we could have much better transitions. So we've done that and we've created it. So that's what we heard. But I will tell you, when my students that are working, a student of mine in England called me last week, and he's like, oh my God, Mike, I've had this. He said, you were right. He said, I got hired from this big four consulting company. He said, I'm getting paid a lot of money. He said, they even bought me a car. He said, a new car showed up on my car park just the other day. He said, wow, this is super exciting. So my students of all have wonderful things. We always ask them every time they get hired, what's going on. The only thing that I've ever heard was he needed a little better organization, because I am not organized. Chris, my chief operating officer, who's on here, can tell you that I'm not organized. So I hired Chris, who's the most organized, meticulous, and data-oriented, data-driven person, analytical person, to fix that. And my students have been thrilled ever since. So Chris, thank you for your help with that.
Yep. I'd actually like to toss something in on here.
Sure.
Because so the area of improvement, so that's something that we're constantly every day. And so people that have graduated, and we consider graduated meaning they got hired or they got a promotion. So they're actually giving us feedback about ideas for our classes moving forward, like the live sessions. So we're able to stay up to date on the type of live scenarios that we use in our live sessions. So that's one area that doesn't immediately come to mind, because it's something that we're constantly doing. It's part of our integration, is to take the feedback from students of things that they're seeing when they get out there. And we've used those scenarios in our classes to keep them up to date.
Absolutely, we do that constantly. If there's a certain set of questions that are popping up on interviews, we build solutions for that too. So yeah, we literally speaking every day, Chris and I talk, what can we do to make it better every day?
And then another big thing, the community engagement was one of the bigger feedbacks that we got, which is what led to Slack, the Slack integration with the community. So I'll move on to the next question.
Could I please share all the most asked questions for cloud solution architects in a single video? Again, regarding what? What would they ask about networking? What would they ask about architecture? What would they ask? Was it related to interviews? I still have no idea what you mean by most frequently asked questions. And I don't think that 2 years experience has anything to do with it. But the questions are going to be the same whether you're brand new or you've got 20 years experience. So if you can tell me what you actually were referring to. Are you referring to architecture? Are you referring to interview questions? Are you referring to the network? I just need to know what you actually need, Claire. So the specificity in what you ask will determine how I can answer it. I still don't understand the question. Chris, can you interpret that question any differently than me?
I can't. It's very specific. It's going down a very specific route, and it's difficult.
Without telling us what the specificity is.
Yeah. Okay. I did post a link to our interview preparation playlist above, a couple of messages above. And for Claire, that playlist has everything from suggestions and ideas on how to prepare for an interview to actual interview questions and how to respond to those. So that interview preparation playlist that I posted has everything from interview questions to how to prepare. So I would take a look through those for the interview question videos. There's a couple of them where we go through several interview questions.
Yes, and if it's an interview question, great. The reason I can't answer this is there's probably about 15,000 questions that are going to be asked to solutions architects every single day. But some are actually going to be related to interviews. Some are going to be related to baselining the customer's network. Some are going to be looking at their infrastructure. Some are going to, I mean, there's just, I don't even know where to begin. Okay, go through, if they're related to interviews, go through those. That'll be helpful to you.
Yeah, go through them and then leave a comment on them. If you've got anything else that you want to ask, because we look through the comments
look through the comments, and after you look through those, if you can be specific about exactly what you want, chances are we'd be thrilled to make a video for you. I love making videos upon request. I just need to know exactly what it is you're actually looking for. So that's why I'm looking for that level of specificity.
Yep. All right, I'll put this next one up.
Are the classes beginner friendly? Absolutely. So when people come to us with a certification or not, like we get some people that have the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional. We get some people that are coming from nursing. We get some people that are coming from behavioral health. You know what? They all do well. A lot of times the non-technical people do better than the technical people. So here's what I mean by that. When people have a deep technical background, specifically engineering, all they want to do is configure. And I need to sometimes tell them to take a step back, think big. It's often much easier to train someone that's had a business job or a sales job or a medical job, and it actually is an engineer. So we start everybody at a baseline, meaning we don't know what people know. I interviewed 1,000 people that had AWS certifications, and not a single one was employable as a cloud architect. It's that. Now, because I've done that, we start everybody at the foundation. We start by teaching the network. We start by teaching the data center. We start by teaching how to architect and the building blocks modules. Once we get the baseline up and the knowledge up, then we can add things one at a time, 2, 3, 4, until our students do well. For example, I got a friend named Jack over in the UK. Jack just got a job for AWS. Today, Jack actually posted something, great news, new innovation. And when he talked about the innovation, he talked about now you can actually put a static IP address on an application load balancer. So you could use a network load balancer to load balance between application load balancers. And I responded to Jack and I said, Jack, that's great. I did this 20 years ago. It's not an innovation. It's finally letting the cloud get a little closer to the data center, and this is exciting. Everything we see on the cloud is old. For example, Transit Gateway Cloud Hub is a 30-year-old route reflector technology from BGP. So we start everybody at the bottom. We build everybody's fundamentals. And because we start at the bottom and build everybody's fundamentals, if you need to work on Azure tomorrow, you can. If you need to work at Oracle tomorrow, you can. You're working at AWS tomorrow, you can. You want to work with IBM, you can. A lot of my students work for IBM as senior cloud architects upon graduation. I've got 2 of them that took that. You know what? Neither of them were ever architects in their life before. It didn't matter. So classes are beginner friendly. We start at the foundation and we ramp up. We can't do it without a solid foundation. If you build a house on sand, the house sinks into the ground. We take everyone and we put them through our fundamentals. By the end of these fundamentals, our students can work anywhere, anytime. Tech background, non-tech background, 100% irrelevant. They're still successful. So very beginner-friendly classes, Ronald. I'm happy to ask any questions you may have. We all start somewhere. Sterling Silver, do I believe someone coming from a non-technical background can take your course and get a job? They do it every single day. I did it. I went from a nurse practitioner to a senior network architect inside of 6 months. So typically speaking, people with a tech background get hired within about 4 months. People that have never worked in tech before in their entire lives typically take between 6 and 8 months in my program to get hired. Typically 6 to 8 months. Yes, you come out with a massive portfolio of things that would look to the equivalent of 5 to 10 years worth of experience by the time you're done. Absolutely. That's one of the ways we get past past this, so we can show employers that you've actually had a real job. You put a Go Cloud Architects down, you're setting up enterprise-wide virtualization, you're building your own clouds in our program, you're federating your clouds with other Active Directory servers. You have a portfolio that's the equivalent of 5 to 10 years experience by the time you graduate. You aren't doing something simple like configuring an EC2 instance. You're actually building a cloud. So yes, you've got a huge portfolio by the time you're done. Peter Abane, you're interested in the Cloud Architect program, the 16-week programs, and the other trainings. Basically, we only have right now one training program, and it's called the Cloud Architect Career Development Program. And it includes everything from interview guidance. There's a whole interview course inside of there, and we've just filmed a 10-hour interview section to even improve it. And we're going to give every one of the students in the program, we're going to take them from the 2 to 3 hours interview training to the full 10-hour interview course that we just filmed. Absolutely. So the 16 weeks trainings go on. They include interview preparation. They include salary negotiation. They all go on simultaneously while you're in the program. This is like college. You don't just have a physics class. You're going to have a physics class. Yeah, for example, you're going to have your architecture modules. You're going to have your communication modules. You're going to have your interview modules, your negotiation modules, your presentation modules, your career planning modules. We've got to do it all. That's why this is a real program. This is not just a certification program. This is to get you hired. And yes, we could easily get you hired. If you'd like to call us again, you can call us in our office. I know there's some phone calls I already have to return. I've gotten a couple of text messages, like 3 of them, and I'm happy to call you back as well. But you could definitely do well in our program. In the program, you'll go module by module. As you're going through modules, there's some that are technical and there's some that are non-technical, and it's all done at the same time. It takes a long time to learn these business acumen skills. It takes an equally long time to learn the tech skills. So what we do is we do them all at the same time. Career planning, business, communication, tech, all of that. It's all part of the job, and we filter it in there the way you would take multiple classes in college or high school. You'll take multiple classes going on at the same time with us, and you will do great, Peter. Next training session begins tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Ronald Fan, what is my martial arts background? That's a great question. In my youth, it was Taekwondo for about 3 years. Then it was Shotokan karate. Also did a bit of Kempo. I did some jiu-jitsu, both Japanese jiu-jitsu and Brazilian jiu-jitsu. And most of my life is actually spent practicing Krav Maga, the Israeli martial art. Really simple, really ugly, really effective. And it's just the way I like to do things. Practical, straight to the point, and highly functional. And I've been teaching that to others as well for long periods of time. I've also practiced yoga for about 15 years, and I'm also a 500-hour registered yoga instructor as well, because I believe yoga is very healthy. And we're going to sit like hunched over like this all day on a computer. We must do something to be straight up to refix our alignment. So excellent. I'm always happy to answer. Martial arts are near and dear to my heart. What is the role of an Azure MVP? Hold on, let me just make sure this is what I think it is. Most valuable professional. I don't know how much that's going to do for you. I'm going to give you the real answer that was given to me by my manager 20 years ago. 20 years ago, my manager says to me, Mike, do you know the difference between a $100,000 a year engineer and a $300,000 engineer? I'm like, Don, tell me. He says, communication skills, executive presence, emotional intelligence. That's it. You know what? I've spent $250,000 on soft skills training between me and the company together. That's what was put into my soft skills education. It was paid back within 12 months. So you want to earn more? You want a better career? Do an MBA, hire an executive coach, learn those executive skills, That can make a $200,000-$300,000 difference in your career, literally speaking, within a year. You can do these MVP things and they can have a little bit of an impact on your career, but it's not the place to invest. The place to invest your money is on the communication skills, the business side, the leadership side. That's how you add $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 more to your career. That's what you should do. So best advice I can give you, and this was the hardest lesson for me to learn, you can become the best technology guy or girl in the world. You could become great. You could do nothing other than studying tech 6 hours a day, 8 hours a day, and your career will top out around $200,000 a year. You can be a mediocre tech person, like good enough, and have exceptional business communication skills, emotional intelligence, good business acumen, and earn $500,000 a year. So I learned that early in my career, the most technically capable people didn't get promoted, and the people that knew less, that spoke better and dressed better, earned more. You could do the Azure MVP, most valuable professional, or you can basically become a great architect and develop more of the business skills. That will have a much, much, much bigger impact on your career. What age do you suggest? Well, fella Peter, I think at any age. I've got students that are in their 60s that are doing great. I've got people that are 18 years old that are working great. I've taught people in high school and they did great. And by the time they were done high school, had really great jobs. And I've taught people while they were in college, and by the time they were done college, they had great jobs. I don't think there is an age to learn or not learn. Now, I'm going to say this. If you're older, it's a little easier, because when you're older like me and you go interview with a hiring manager, they look at me as a guy that's got lots of experience. Even if it's life experience, I don't look like a risk taker, because I'm not. I don't look like I'm not going to do what I'm doing. I'm going to be calm, emotionally intelligent, communicate well. So generally speaking, if you're 40 or 50 or as an architect, it's a little better for you. Having said that, if you are young, we can still get you hired as well, albeit it's harder, but we can still do it. When you're young, we have to capitalize on the fact that you are energetic when you're young, and you learn fast when you're young. So when it comes to it, we have to teach you how to show your energy, enthusiasm, and passion, and your willingness to learn as a young person. So for young, you're going to be the most energetic, enthusiastic, I learn fast person. When you're older like me, you have to still remind them you're still with it, but you've got this experience of life and wisdom to be safe. It doesn't matter your age. It's just a different approach, and we use different approaches from our students of different age groups. Ben, you are correct. Our goal is not necessarily pass the certifications, although we don't have any students that graduate that don't have the Certified Solution Architect Professional, because we provide the training included in our program. So, do we have anything on how to pass the professional certification? Yes, it's included in our training program. But passing a certification is easy. Mike, what is my strategy to make the student comfortable on the cloud design part? Real simple. Twice a week, we do cloud architectures as a group. Big, fun architectures. It's a blast. And the more senior people participate in the first couple of weeks, the more junior people learn. 3 weeks later, some of those more senior people have been hired. Some of those junior people do the following. They're there, they're present, they pay attention. 2 weeks later, they know exactly what to do. Then they kind of lead some of the designs with the help of the other people. By the time everybody's done, everybody's designed environments that have hundreds of thousands of servers, 40,000 subnets, 20,000 remote locations. I mean, containers, complex routing. All my students do the most complicated things constantly, constantly, constantly. No one needs any certifications before enrollment. None. I don't care if you were a nurse like I was, we'll get you hired. Or if you've been working in tech, we're still going to have to get you to the point where we teach you the network and the data center, unless you're a networking professional, and it'll be pretty easy. We teach you everything you need to know in the program. We give you extreme network training, lots of data center training, lots of cloud training, and of course the business, the leadership, the communication, the ROI modeling, and all of that, because that is just so essential. Okay. I don't know if I know there's some calls that I actually have to return back. Chris from my team will do the following. I will put the phone number from our office in case anybody has questions. I know that I've received multiple messages during this call, and I will return them immediately after the call is over. So I'll definitely take care of that as soon as possible. Chris, if you can pop a link to our training program and a 20% off coupon code in case anybody's interested. And I will be back on Wednesday to ask any more cloud computing career questions. The students that will sign up, I'll see you in class at 9 a.m. tomorrow. I see some of my students are actually here. That's what we love, because we love as much interaction as we can with our students. So for my students, I'll see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. Unless you've got any questions before now and then, in which case I'll see you on Slack. I want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart for being here. I'm going to do anything we can to help you get cloud hired. If you can hit that like button, if you've had time, if you can push hashtag cloud hired in the window, we know you're here, we know you're paying attention, and we do everything we can to help you cloud architect career, solution architect career. And you know what? We're going to do some free networking training coming real soon too. So please subscribe and hit the bell. Thank you all so much. And I look forward to returning the phone calls from the people that have reached out to us. And anybody else, you know how to reach us. You've got our website as well as our phone number. Thank you all. Take care, everyone.